Well, the boys have arrived in West Palm, and we are officially kicking off this season. Pitchers and catchers are here. And not only is that going to happen, we've got Mike Stanton, former Major League pitcher, is going to talk to us about spring training. Whitley, Diaz, Espada. We've got so much to talk about. Let's get it started right now.
Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Huysman and Brett H-Town Wheelhouse Chancey.
We are Locked On Houston Astros, and we hope that you join us for a daily Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Huysman. You can find me on X at Eric Talkstros. Find the show at Locked On Astros, your team every day. Brett, where can you find you at?
They can find me at H.O. Wheelhouse on X, Instagram, and TikTok. They can find me at Astros411 on X, Instagram, and Facebook. Always positive. Positive. I love when spring training starts and we get Mike, the world champion Stanton in. Always Stros.
I was wondering how you guys were going to introduce me here because you guys both have these cool nicknames in the middle. I mean, maybe Tired Old Lefty?
We'll have to do it. We'll do it.
I was actually going to say that Giancarlo Stanton was so intimidated by you that he had to change his name from Mike Stanton to Giancarlo Stanton.
Good one, Eric. I like that.
You know, I did an interview with him one time, and I actually asked him that. That was on Sirius XM MLB Network Radio. This is years and years ago. And I asked him, I said, dude, do you ever get any of my baseball cards? He said he didn't, but there is no way that he didn't get a few because I would get his all the time. I'm like, guys, really? I mean, we look nothing alike. You know, this guy is a Greek god, and I'm just, a dude.
Guys, whether you're trying to find a Mike Stanton card or a Giancarlo Stanton card, thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day, whether it's on YouTube. Go and subscribe to us. Go and make us your first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Go and check us out. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. New customers join today and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started today. So, Mike, I have to ask you, who are you going for in the Super Bowl?
You know, I really didn't care what I tell everyone because I don't have a rooting interest in almost any football team. I do like Patrick Mahomes. I like the way he plays. I like his flair for the dramatic. So if I had to root for someone, it was going to be Kansas City. Really what I was looking for is exactly what we got, which was a really good football game. That's what I want more than anything else, just since I don't really, I really don't even I don't really even watch that much NFL.
Yeah. I have to agree with that. I was actually going for Mahomes, not just for his talent, but it seems like everybody's not going for him. And I kind of like the run that they're on in parallel with what the Astros run is on. So sure. I kind of get the hate. I kind of get but you're literally going from Tom Brady to Mahomes, and you possibly, unless it's a football show, but he possibly could get to 6 rings faster than Brady got to 6 rings, which is unbelievable. And who knows, the Astros may be getting their 3rd World Series this year.
It's a possibility. I mean, you're talking about a team. I've even heard people talking about how, is this run coming to an end? Well, it doesn't look like it. This is still, I think, the team to beat, definitely in the American League West. I think it's the team to beat in the American League altogether. And why not? I mean, the run is still there. And they did it last year. And there were parts of the team that took steps backwards. They were not a really good offensive team. They kind of, really struggled at times, but there was inconsistencies. And then even the pitching staff actually took some steps backwards, but they still, when it counted, they went out there and did their job and, were one win away from going to another World Series.
Yeah.
So now that we're starting a new season, trying to get back to the World Series, pitchers and catchers reported today. So as a former pitcher, what is that like? What is that like? Just kind of, you've been the whole off season prepping for
Yeah.
this day. Then you get to walk into spring camp and it's a new season. What is that like as a former pitcher?
Well, it's awesome. I mean, you especially once you're old enough to have a wife and kids, and you really, you don't really like to leave home, but once you do it and get down to spring training, you walk in the clubhouse, the smells, you see all your boys again, you start, reminiscing and you start catching up. There's a lot of those guys that you haven't talked to for 3 months, since the last day of the season. But in about, I'm going to say about 30 seconds, it's like you guys have never been apart. I mean, that's how close knit most teams are. And I think this Astros team is. So yeah, hope, spring hopes of, what's the saying? Hope springs eternal.
Yes.
Exactly.
And that's really what this is. And, this is a good team, but it's one of those things that you look forward to it once you get there. But, it's never a whole lot of fun leaving the family behind.
Yeah, exactly. And you've got some new faces. You've got a couple new relief pitchers trying to make an impression to get on that major league roster to not start in AAA. But
Right.
you also have someone like Hunter Brown who said he's worked on more pitches. He's worked on his arsenal. You got Sean Dubin, who really, had he not been dealing with an injury here or there, would have been probably more of a mainstay in the bullpen because of the way he performed in Arlington last year.
Mm-hmm.
I look for big things for him. And then you've got two brand new catchers. I mean, two guys. Now, I say brand new. Yainer's new to being the leader of the staff, but you have Victor Carantini coming in, who's got some experience with Hader. But it's got to be exciting because you got a mixture of veterans who are really good, who have achieved a lot. You got a mixture of new guys who also bring experience, like a Josh Hader, who hasn't experienced a World Series. So that's got to be exciting in itself.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, the major part of this team, there really wasn't a whole lot of changes. The lineup is, for the most part, basically the same. The pitching staff, the same way. There's always turnover in the bullpen. That's just a fact of life of Major League Baseball. And, but you gotta love the move that Jim Crane, Dana Brown made. They felt like there was a need in the bullpen, and they went out and got possibly the best reliever on the market. And, that really helps at the back end. Yeah, there's some jobs to be had in the bullpen, but, this should be a pretty quiet spring training because there's just not a whole lot of drama going on. This is a team that's going to go in, get their work in. They've been there. They've done it so much that they know exactly what they need to do. It's not a situation that they don't know. There's going to be some situation that they're not going to know how to react to it. They've been through it all. And that just bodes well for this team going through the long haul of the summer and then, possibly getting into October.
I know there's 95 million reasons why there's not going to be any drama this spring training, but you have to think that there may be some talk this spring training about who's the closer. Ryan Presley, we know that he's a good guy. He went out and played catch with this neighborhood kid, and that probably made his lifetime. But at the same time, as I don't know how much you actually closed in your career, but a closer is a closer, and you get that mentality. And it's hard to give that up. I mean, if you're traded mid-season to a team that already has a closer, you have to kind of just kind of eat it up and just do what you're supposed to do. But in this situation, I think both players knew what they were getting into. Ryan Presley gave the go-ahead. Yeah, I'll do this. So how do you think Joe Espada, we'll talk more about Joe Espada in a second, but how do you think Joe Espada is going to handle this whole closing situation? And is it really even going to be an issue?
I don't think it's an issue. I think that the conversations that have already been had, I think that, you pay someone $95 million. You're not paying him to pitch the eighth inning. Now, saying that, you also have to look at exactly how the Astros have worked their closer in the past. And they do not overwork anyone. So there's still going to be some saves to be had. It's not going to be a situation that Josh Hader is going to get every single solitary save opportunity. They are not going to overwork anyway. Now, and we know all you have to do is, go to his baseball reference page and look that this dude has pitched a lot, previously in his baseball career. Now, it wasn't always as a closer, but this dude can handle the workload. But the Astros just don't do that. They're not looking for a reliever to have 80 appearances in a season. They're just not going to do it. They're not going to throw 3 days in a row. Not at least until you get into September and the pennant's on the line. So, there's going to be other guys that have saves, but Josh Hader is going to be the closer. He's going to be the guy that's pitched the ninth inning, and you're a team player. You're getting paid to be a relief pitcher. The contract doesn't actually say closer on anyone's. It just says, actually just says pitcher, but you're a relief pitcher. That means you come in, sometime following the starting pitcher. So,
right.
Yeah. I think for Ryan, there may be a little bit of adjustment period because he has been very good for the Astros, especially in the postseason. But he was a long time setup man before he became a closer. And I think that, you just kind of, revert back to that mindset and you go and do whatever you need to do to help the team win.
Hey, everybody. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sports book, and I'm here to tell you that new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's right. If you saw the Rockets and Knicks game, wow, they caused quite a controversy with the last call where the Rockets actually got free throws off of a foul call that shouldn't have been a foul. So now it's under protest. So look, if they do play an extra overtime quarter to determine who wins the game, are you going to go to quick bets and make that bet? Are you going to make a parlay on a 5-minute overtime? You could, because you have $150 if your bet wins. So bet all your favorite NBA players and teams with quick bets, live same game parlays, exclusive props, and more. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and shoot your shot. FanDuel is the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. You're muted.
Thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day. Whether it's on YouTube, go and subscribe to us. Go and make us your first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify. Wherever you listen to podcasts, go and check out the Locked On Astros podcast. Go and check out Locked On Sports Today. It's the first ever 24/7 streaming channel out there. It's got all the news that you need to know. NFL, NBA, MLB, it's about to start. We know that the football season's over, but go and check out Locked On Sports Today 24/7 on YouTube. All right, so everybody needs to unmute yourselves, and let's go.
So Eric, tell us about
beauty
this
of
trade.
live.
Exactly. Tell us about this trade, this minor leaguer. Is this, someone said, is this the next Yordan Alvarez? I'm like, whoa, easy, Tiger. What are we doing here? Just because the guy hit a bunch of home runs in the minor leagues. Good Lord, we talk about spoiled rotten here in Houston. But tell us about this guy and what we traded for.
Well, you don't get these Jeff Bagwell, Alvarez trades all the time, but this is just somebody that the Astros saw some talent in. So his name is Oliver Carrillo from the Padres. He's a young player. I believe he's only 22 years old.
Yes.
So he batted .315 with 20 home runs, 75 RBIs. He had a .505 on base percentage. But this was in the Dominican League. So that's basically below A ball. So he's still got some room to grow. This is, I'm not totally sure, but I believe that typically people in the Dominican League are a little bit younger. So he may be a little bit older player. So that may be why he was available. But they basically exchanged him for some international bonus pool money. So this could be somebody that the Astros could see some future some maybe potential in the future, but for right now, he's coming to spring camp. They're going to see what they have and then probably send him down to single A.
Yeah, I don't really think there's a whole lot here other than you give yourself some depth in the minor league. Someone
Right.
said, I was like, look, the run is going to continue with this guy. And what I meant was this is either a trade piece or a potential down the road, low risk, high reward type of move. I mean, Dana Brown's going to do stuff like this, and you never know. I mean, you find diamonds in the rough. I mean, I know people were high on Yainer Diaz. I know the Astros wanted him before they got him, but I don't know that they knew that when they traded him and got him and Matan for Miles Straw, I don't know that they knew that he would be as good as he was last year, just in 81 games, hitting 21 home runs. So, Mike, do you think we'll see more moves like this, or do you think we're kind of tapped out on moves until like further notice?
Well, I think I don't want to say that there's no chance of any moves happening, but yeah, by this time, your general managers have kind of cemented at least your spring training roster. I mean, that's why you got to remember there's still a couple big names on the free agent market.
Huge.
That haven't, one is a Cy Young Award winner just this past season in Blake Snell. So it's one of those crazy things that, free agency, and I was blessed enough to go through it a couple different times, but it's not always a cakewalk. It's not always there are, dozens of players that are not going to have jobs. And you say, well, free agents, everybody gets paid. The top free agents get paid, but everybody doesn't find a job, And but I think that moves like this, these are moves that happen all the time. They're not usually put out there for people to realize it. This has been happening for decades, and that's exactly, you got to remember there's two ways to support the major league club. It's directly by just playing well and getting called up and helping that team, or indirectly, which is your trade bait. You can be traded for a piece that the team needs to bring in at that particular time to support the big league club that way. So, there's a lot of different ways, and just for him, this young man to get into a major league organization is a big plus. And to get into an organization like the Astros, you never know. He's got big power. If he can, cut down on the strikeouts, put the ball in play a little bit more, he's got to develop defensively. But, there was enough talent for Dana to at least pull the trigger and give up a little bit of that international pool money.
Which they use a lot because they love to go get those international prospects. Right. So to go off what you were saying, Mike, John Morosi said that Wednesday is actually possibly going to be a big moment for a lot of free agency, because Wednesday is the first time that teams can actually put people on the 60-day IL. Mm-hmm. Meaning that they can go and open some more roster spots. Right. And also, as spring training progresses, knock on wood, there's always going to be injuries, and you might have the need for a Blake Snell or a Jordan Montgomery or something like that. So these guys will find homes. This is not the 2000 season where Dallas Keuchel and some other people were playing in Scott Boris's made up camp or something, like all the way till May. These guys are professionals. Matt Chapman still doesn't have a job. These guys will be playing baseball somewhere, and it's not going to hurt them. These guys are veteran enough where it's not really going to affect them overall.
Yeah, the players know what they need to do to get prepared, but where it affects you more than anything else, it's not the physical part of the game, it's the mental part of the game. Right. That's what part of spring training is for, is just to get into the flow, find your swing. Well, these guys, even if they get picked up in the next week or two, which they very well may, just the mindset going in is just so different. We've seen players really struggle in situations like this. So, we'll just have to wait and see. I know it's not optimal for any of those guys. What's going to be fascinating, I know we need to get back talking about the Astros, but one of the things I think that is going to be fascinating is to see what these guys get. Probably the two biggest pitchers at the end of the season was Jordan Montgomery, who helped the Texas Rangers win a World Series and probably was their most consistent pitcher. And then Blake Snell, who won the National League Cy Young Award. And you look at these guys and you go, okay, how do these guys not have jobs? Well, you got to remember, it's not just about bringing on the player. they're also asking for a certain contract. They're looking for money. And Blake Snell, I'm not sure about Montgomery. Blake Snell got Scott Boras, and Scott Boras is the ultimate gambler. So, I think it's going to be fascinating to see what these guys actually do get paid, what the contracts look like.
Yeah, Brett, real quick, just to bring up a name that struggled with signing late, Jake Odorizzi with the Astros.
There you go.
It took him a long time to kind of find his groove, but once he found his groove, he was pretty reliable.
Yeah, good call.
Yeah, let's go ahead and talk about game time, and then I'll make a point, and then we'll move on to Yainer and Joe Espada. Hello, everybody. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is your number one ticket app. I'm telling you, I know from experience because I've literally been walking up to the stadium, purchase the ticket. I mean, literally 2 clicks. It's in your phone. You have to go to your email. It's on the app. You pull it up, they scan it. You're in the game. Last minute tickets, flash deals, zone deals, easy to find. They also show you the view of your seat so you know exactly what you're getting. And it's not just baseball. It's all sports, music, comedy, theater, so much more. All-in-one pricing lets you know what everything is up front. So you don't get surprised at checkout with some random tax or extra fee. Download the Game Time app today. Create the account. Use the promo code Locked On, and you'll benefit by getting $20 off your first purchase. Now, terms do apply, but if you do this, you create the account, you use a redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Trust me, H-Town Wheelhouse, I've used it. I've used the zone deals, and they have this. If you go to another ticket site and you find a ticket in the same section, in the same row for a cheaper price, they will credit you 110% the difference. So download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed.
Hey guys, thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day, whether it's on YouTube. Go and subscribe to us. Go and make us your first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. Go and check us out. Go and check out Locked On Sports Today. It's the first ever 24/7 streaming channel with all the sports news you need today. What's going on with the Rockets? What's going on with the Texans? Who are they going to get in the draft? And all the stuff that you can find 24/7 streaming on YouTube. So go and check it out. And once the season gets starting, you can see Brett and I on there as well.
So, Eric, one of the things that I wanted to hit on before we moved on, talking about the 60-day IL, since the Dodgers and Padres are opening the season in Seoul, Korea, they were able to put guys on the 60-man IL before everybody else. You had Dustin May and Tony Gonsolin is on the 60-day IL, and he was moved there to clear a spot for Clayton Kershaw. So they were able to use it a little early, kind of jump the gun. And I want to get this question to you before we move on. Michael Lewis asked, who's going to be the long reliever this year? Who do we think is going to who do we think is going to throw in that role? Is it going to be someone like a Bielak, like a Dubin, someone like that? Is it going to be, because Dana Brown talked about the starters, one of the starters may be transitioning to the bullpen? And are we looking at a JP France type of person? I know they're going to go with the 6-man, but you don't have 7 spots.
Well, I think it's going to be a fluid situation. This is, we all look at opening day like it's this big special day, and it is, because it's the start of the baseball season. But to the players, it's one of 162. And, for the general managers, for the front office, it's just the start of the marathon that we call Major League Baseball regular season. And I think that it is going to be to tell you the truth, whoever it is, you hope he never has to pitch, because a long relief guy, when is he coming in? Well, he's coming in when the starter doesn't do his job and has to come out early. So, I think it's going to be one of those situations. I mean, if it is someone like a Brandon Bielak, I think that's okay, because he's going to throw strikes. He's going to give you everything he's got. Chances are it's not going to be, crazy shutout innings or anything like that. But that's not what you're looking for anyways. What are you looking for? You're looking for innings. You're looking for outs. You're looking for, when I was in, multiple bullpens over the years. Whenever we had somebody come in and he would throw, 2 2/3 or 3 or 3 1/3 innings in the middle of the game, even if he gave it up, I went up and patted him on the back and said thank you, because what he did was he saved the rest of the bullpen.
Yeah.
Because if you have those bullpen days, people need to understand that it doesn't just affect the next game. It really affects maybe the next week.
Wow.
Because you just, you're using guys that you don't want to use. And especially with how they run bullpens today, especially the way the Astros like to run their bullpens with guys that aren't going to throw, 3 days in a row, that shortens the bullpen on a nightly basis. So you have to have those guys that can suck up those innings, and they're very important, even if it's not just for today's game, for the games going forward.
Yes, definitely. I think that Brandon Bielak is out of options. So if the Astros don't have him on opening day roster, he will be have to be DFA'd.
Right.
Or put on waivers at least. So I think that that would be probably a good call for his role this year. So we'll have to see. But like you said, do we really want a long reliever like that? So going off that, looking at Yainer Diaz, I know we just did the interview with him, but have you ever worked with like a young catcher that's finally been given the keys to the car?
Sure.
And what do you think he's going to have to go through in his first full season?
Yeah, I would equate this to when the Yankees, when we finally got by, Joe Girardi was the starter, and then that starting, quote unquote, starting role was turned over to Jorge Posada.
Yeah.
And there were some growing pains. Now, Jorge had the same situation. He was kind of under the tutelage of Joe Girardi, just like Martin Maldonado was there to kind of help Yainer through that first year. And I think that it was, because we saw him behind home plate many times last year. And, you looked at the ERA that the pitchers had when he was back there. The ERA was pretty good, but it wasn't a pressure situation. Well, now it's different. Now he's got to do the due diligence. Now he has to, and that's what a lot of last year was about, was learning the system, learning what you need, what you don't need going into it, getting a rapport. Here's the big one, getting a rapport with the pitcher, especially the starting pitchers, to figure out, what you want to do and build that trust. And again, that's what a lot of last year was about, was building that relationship between the catcher and the pitcher that's so vital, so that there is a trust factor. So spring training is going to be important also. The difference is now, catchers don't catch. I mean, Salvador Perez, you're not catching 150 games anymore. A starting catcher catches half, maybe a little bit more than half. And then there's a mix and match going forward. But I think that he's poised to do exactly what he needs to do. I don't think there's going to be a problem with all of the learning that he did last year. We know offensively he can be a beast, and that's really what you want. You want that bat in the lineup, but he's got to remember, and I know he does, that his number one job is not to swing the bat. His number one job is to work that pitching staff.
So real quick, to kind of put to put a bow on everything and to kind of wrap things up, just give me 30, 60 seconds of what you expect from Joe Espada. He's already said that the young guys are going to play. What do you expect from Joe Espada in spring training?
Listen, Joe's a great guy. He's been there for a long time. He's got a relationship with all. That's why I thought that this was, I know that Jim Crane had to do his due diligence. He had to do the interviews, had to look around, make sure. But Joe Espada was the guy for the job. I mean, he's been poised to take this over, you're going all the way back to 2020. So I think that it was the right move. Now, the game's going to be a little fast. Yes, he's been on the bench. He's been a third base coach. He's done a lot of different things. But, being the manager making the calls, things happen very quickly. So there's going to be a little bit of some growing pains there. But, I think that Joe is poised to do a great job. He's a great baseball mind. He's been behind the scenes making calls this whole time. So The Astros did did exactly what they needed to do, bringing in Joe Espada, but first time manager, there's going to be some times that the game speeds up on him.
Well, Mike, thank you for coming on. When you're not hitting home runs like Giancarlo does, where can they find you on X?
Find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Mike Stanton 29. We at Space. I got to make sure I get this right. Space City Home Network. We are covering, I believe, 10 spring training games.
Nice.
Okay.
So yeah, I've got, I think, 5 or 6 of those, calling one game with Kevin Eschenfelder. So yeah, we'll get you guys all ready for that regular season that seems to be just right around the corner.
Yeah, we're really excited about this new network. So we thank you for coming on, and once again, we appreciate it. So, guys, thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day. We appreciate y'all joining the show. And yes, I wore the Mardi Gras shirt because today is the final day of Mardi Gras according to the calendar. So we will be back tomorrow with another podcast, and spring training starts. Soon hitters and the rest of the hitters and everybody else will report, and soon there'll be baseball on air, and we're all excited about that. So we will see you tomorrow. And Brett, what do we say?
Go Stros.
All right, we'll talk to you tomorrow.
I don't know. I think Mike Stanton's biceps were the same size as Giancarlo Stanton's biceps.
Maybe my thigh.
Hey, I've never seen you on the mound. You look pretty stout in that Yankees uniform.
I'm built more like a tree stump.
Tree stump.
An oak, a strong oak.